Top five, top five, top five.
Yeah, girl. You ready to do this? You ready to count this thing down? We're doing the top five, heard? Yeah, let's set it off with 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ranked Top 5 List of Stuff That Don't Matter. I'm your host, Tuong, and I'm surrounded in a room of very smiley people. We're smiling, we're having fun, we're ready to talk about movies and things. We are at the Academy, the Pod Cavern Academy. It's a very boring, no it's not, I was gonna say the real Academy Awards are boring, but not ours. In the Pod Cavern Academy, I gotta say, I'm very excited. This person swooped in at the very last moment to save the day. I was like, we're not going to be able to record the movies episode this year. I'm going to cancel everything. But this person, let me tell you, she was ready. She was ready for the call. Nivala, Maharaj, everyone. Nivala, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I've missed being here.
Nivala, because of the Pod Cavern Academy Awards show today, who are you wearing today?
I'm wearing Rochelle Designs.
Yeah, it's really
it says, nice. My sweater says, be kind. And then in reference to Legally Blonde, it goes, what? Like it's hard. It's a hot pink sweater for those of you who
can't
watching
see
the visual cast.
The visual cast that I do not post at all.
Yeah.
Nivala, thank you so much for joining us here. I'm so excited to talk to you about movies and stuff.
I too am very excited to chat with everyone about movies this year. I think it's been quite a spicy year for movies, so I'm excited for what we have to bring to the table.
Spicier than Dora the Explorer?
Listen, Dora is pretty top-notch. I would say it's a top 5 movie. Of all time.
Okay, all right, okay. I feel like we should unpack that in a different episode, but can you introduce the next guest for me?
Well, today, everyone, I have the effervescent Megamind himself, Mr. Jesse Anderson!
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Jesse.
Megamind, huh? I feel like you're setting up giant expectations.
I just have to give the people the experience.
If people don't know what Jesse looks like, picture actual Megamind, the DreamWorks movie with Will Ferrell. Giant head, he's blue, very witty, was a supervillain. I wear a cape. Yes! Exactly.
Yes, I love my capes. They're coming back, I'm telling you. So fashion is cyclical.
So you're wearing a cape at today's awards show too. I see you're wearing 2 capes.
I'm wearing 2. One on the front, one on the back, because you never know, you might have a problem. Got to get rid of one cape. You got your backup.
Jesse, this is your first time being on Ranked, this show, so I'm excited to hear your takes on today's awards show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, happy to share my opinions, happy to make my case for all the movies I'm going to bring to the table.
Excellent. We can't start this podcast without our final guest.
Yes. It would be my pleasure, my absolute joy to introduce the very one and only Alyssa.
Alyssa Wooldridge,
Thank
everyone.
You so much for having me. I am absolutely honored to be here. I feel like I've always dreamt of giving acceptance speech at the Oscars, and I feel like this is the closest I'm ever going to get.
It's your time. You win. You won the award. Give us your speech.
Thank you so much for having me. I have so many people to thank. And I have nothing prepared. I'm so pumped to be here. I've been obsessively updating my letterboxd over the years, so I'm very pumped to hear what everyone's favorite movies were.
You are ready for this. Let me just start off by saying with the movies episode, I find it's harder and harder every year to find people who have watched the movies of the previous year. Like, I mean, you guys are all great people, but beyond you, I'm just like, who else even cares about the Oscars and things like that? And I don't even know if I care about the Oscars, to be honest. But I watch all the movies.
I was so excited to do this because I have so many movies I want to talk to people about, and no one I know has seen them.
Right? Yes. Alyssa, you're like one of the few people who are like, I'm going to watch all of the movies before the Oscar awards show. Were you able to do it?
I watched all 10.
Me too.
There were 2 I really didn't want to watch, but I committed.
Wow. Okay. Jesse, Nivala, how about yourself? Do you even care about the Oscar awards season?
I love the movies, but I mean, like, you know, the awards as time goes on, they become less and less important to me. Although I do like to read about the winners. I would never, I don't want to say never. I don't really watch the show. I don't watch the broadcast.
Oh, I live for it. Everyone knows if the Oscars are on, do not text me, do not talk to me. I am locked in. It's the only thing that matters to me.
Yeah, Alyssa's live tweeting, and that's not a joke. She does it. She's just like,
Yes.
What's happening here? What's up with this speech? Why did they look this way? Did you see them glance to the camera? What does it mean?
100. That was a great impression.
Nivala, how about yourself?
like
Do you
that.
care about
I
the
like
Oscars?
I'm 50-50. Like some years I'm like really into it, and then other years I'm not so much into it. And it really just depends on what the movies are that are nominated. And if I feel like, oh yeah, I would kind of want to find out more about how this one is being received. It just depends for me.
Yeah.
This year I'm jazzed though for it. Jazz hands.
It's funny because every year, or most years, actually last year, we missed last year's episode for the best movies, but we always try to time it for the Oscars. And I have a love-hate with the Oscars. Like, I love the movies that they bring to the forefront. I'm like, oh, here are the quote-unquote best movies. And usually you get a good amount of them. They're like, oh, those are actually really good. And some of them are like, oh, of course, these are Oscar movies. They're just so hoity-toity about things, I guess. But the actual awards show, again, I love and hate it. It always feels like it's ruled by, like, rich white men. And I don't feel like that's really changed. Some years they're like, look at us being so representative of females, for black community, for, foreign film and stuff like that. Like the year when Parasite won, that was a huge deal. And then, that was like a one and done type of scenario. This year they cut like 8 of the live awards for like, I forget exactly which ones. Alyssa, do you know which ones have been cut?
No, but they're like the more technical ones. Like I think like maybe your costume design, your like sound. It's like those below the line categories.
I'm pretty sure editing got cut from broadcast, and like the documentary ones, maybe the short films too.
I kind of get it. Like, the awards show does run really long, but that really sucks for those people. I would really, it's really unceremonious to win an award and then nobody really sees that, right? So, and is there a host this year? Does anyone know?
There's 3 hosts.
Oh, who are they?
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm excited about 2 of them.
I think Amy Schumer's one of them.
I think you're right.
Yeah, Amy Schumer, I think Regina Hall, and somebody else. Oh, or Wanda Sykes.
Oh.
Or am I just making that up?
But hey, look, we're doing our own awards show today, talking about the best movies of 2021. We're going to talk about our ground rules before we get into it. I have 2 ground rules. One of them is that it has to have come out in 2021. Very obvious ground rule. And the other one was, it's interesting because last year's awards show was like in April or something like that, like way off. And there was movies in February of that same year that counted for that year's Oscar. It was just really messy. So there's a movie that came out in 2021 that won awards for last year's Oscars, but wouldn't qualify for this year's Oscars. And I think that's weird. If that's messy, I don't want to get into that. I would just say if it came out in 2021 for us, that's all I care about.
Perfect.
Any other ground rules we want to go through?
I would like to nominate movies that might not have been nominated for Oscars.
Okay, yes, you can do that. Yes, even though we always time this for the Oscar award season, we're going to talk about movies that we just like, right? I don't want to nominate a movie just because it's like, it is Oscar bait. No, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
The last ground rule that I want to go through was, I think there's a distinction between a special and a movie. I probably will get into that in the honorable mentions, but there is something that I wanted to nominate, but I'm like, I guess it's technically not a movie. I would say like a comedy special is not a movie, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is a documentary a movie?
I'd say so.
I would say so.
Yes.
All right. Mm-hmm. What about a 4-part documentary? Is that a movie?
No, that's a miniseries TV show.
Okay, great. Great. We're all on the same page here. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Should we just get started?
Let's go for it.
Sounds good.
Do it.
Let's
just
rock and roll.
Like every episode of Ranked, we're going to go around 3 times, nominating 3 nominations each, making a master list of 12 and whittling that down to a top 5 movies of 2021 list. This year is interesting because I feel as though when I first thought of what we're going to talk about this year, I'm like, shit, like 5 movies came out last year. But there was actually some good movies that came out last year. I'm like impressed. Everyone's shaking their heads. In case you didn't know, people at home, we're all agreeing that great movies came out. My first great movie I'm going to talk about, it just took me by surprise. It is an Oscar nominated movie for Best Picture, and it shocked me because it wasn't even on the radar. It was just one of those movies that I'm like, I don't even know what this means, but I guess I'm going to watch it because I got to watch all 10 movies. And now it's quickly become one of my favorite movies this entire year. It might be my favorite movie. Might be. That movie is Coda.
So cute.
100%. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What an amazing film.
I'll give you
that
guys...
to me is like my most favorite. I mean, I'm just telling everyone I'm biased. That's the most favorite movie out of last year.
Did everyone see this movie? Jesse, did you see this?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
All right. I'll give a quick synopsis for the people at home who don't know what it is. CODA stands for Children of Deaf Adults, I'm pretty sure. And it is about a whole family of deaf individuals, except the daughter who can hear. And she can also sing. So that we also have part musical in this movie, but it's not a musical. I have to preface that to some people because some people are like hear musical and they're like, oh, here we go. It's the la la la, let's sing about our feelings, dance, dance, dance. And there's a few movies this year that I really like that are that. But this movie is not that. Like the main character wants to become a singer in a family of deaf, like, you know, she has deaf parents and a deaf brother as well. And it's a coming of age film. So it's in high school and she's just trying to make it as a singer. And this movie there's so many times that I just welled up and felt things. And to be able to see a coming of age film in a new perspective that I've personally never seen before. I've never seen the deaf experience. And you see that from so many different angles in this movie. But ultimately, it is heart-wrenching, gut-punching, but also really heartwarming. Like at the end, I was like, oh my God, it was beautiful. I want to tell everybody about this film. How come people aren't talking about it? I won't say too much more than that until the second half of the show, but I definitely recommend it. It's also very funny too. And yeah, it's just one of the most fascinating films that I've seen all year. What do you think, Alyssa, Nivala? You've seen it.
I love that movie. I feel like I was surprised it was in the Best Picture category because it is such like a kind of like feel good. Like when I watched it the first time, I was kind of like, this feels like kind of like a Netflix like family movie. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then the more I like sat with it, the more it stuck with me. And I think the performances especially are so good. It's just such like a treat of a movie.
And it's so cool that they actually got deaf actors to play the deaf people in the movie, like the characters themselves. It's wonderful. Nivala, what do you think?
I loved it so much. I thought it was going to be a very sad film when I watched the trailer. Of course, they led it before like Ted Lasso or something, so you're like ready for that kind of movie, and then or that kind of TV show, and then you saw the trailer for Coda, and then you're like, oh, okay, this seems like it might be sad. And then everyone told me to like give it a go, and I finally watched it, and I was like, wow, this has a mixture of everything. It really hits you in the heart, kind of like how Pixar movies do, but it was, like you said, I really enjoyed how it went through the perspectives for different people when you have someone in the deaf community in your community, and then what that looks like for support for them.
Yeah, they show all the angles of it, right? Like you see it from the main character's perspective of like how she navigates having a deaf family, how the deaf people just like navigate trying to communicate themselves to the rest of their small town, but also they recognize that everyone else views them as like freaks. Some of them do, but some of them don't. So like you get a little bit of both. And then there's actually a scene, which is kind of a spoilers, but we'll try our best not to give full spoilers in the first half of the show. But this is a somewhat of a spoiler, which is like they have a scene where the daughter is singing and then they mute the audio. Like you see, they pan to the parents and they mute the audio, and you just start seeing their world and their perspective on how they're trying to be at their daughter's concert, but they can't hear what she's saying, right? So it's just like they're looking around and they're like, oh, everybody else seems to be enjoying this. She must be doing good. And I'm like, that's amazing. I've never thought about that before. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I have so much more to say about this movie, but we got to move on. Nivala, what is your first nomination?
Well, I don't think it'd be right if I didn't lead with something that's a little bit off kilter and go with Encanto.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My nephew sings all the songs constantly. It's the cutest thing.
Do you know all the words,
my
Alyssa?
goodness.
Getting close.
Nivala, tell me about Encanto.
Yeah. So Encanto is, I think it's a Disney movie.
It is.
But it's about this family that has kind of like special powers or talents, what have you, and they each contribute to their community. And then it's kind of how the pressures of what their talents are and in the community, what that means to them as people. And it just kind of like goes through the journey of this one member who hasn't really been given a talent in the way that the rest of her family has, and how she is basically the glue that holds her family together. The animation is so stunning, and everyone is super cute, and the details in that movie just throughout are just mind-boggling to me. I think I've seen it like 5 times, and every single time I'm learning something new. And the songs are top-notch.
I tuned in for Encanto because, We Don't Talk About Bruno was such a thing. I'm like, I got to check this out. Like, I didn't even know Encanto was out, so I watched it. And am I crazy? But that was one of the weaker songs. Like, I was loving everything else except that one. Like, I can barely even remember how that tune goes.
You don't remember how We Don't Talk About Bruno goes?
Yeah, maybe because I was sitting there waiting the whole time, like, all right, Bruno, hit me with your best. And then it just was like, oh, okay, that was just a scene.
It was overhyped for you.
Actually, I've heard this from a few people too, where they're like, okay, it's time for the Bruno song, and the expectation is just way, way, way too high. And then they hear it and they're like, that's it. But it's an incredible song. I love it. I love it a lot.
It's a great movie. Like, I want to echo what Nivala said. Like, the animation, attention to detail, it's all there. It's great. It's such a feast. I feel like this is a movie where you could mute it and just watch it on silent and still get have a great time. Seriously.
That's interesting too, because it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, everyone's favorite, Disney's favorite musician these days. And if you ever watched, because I got obsessed with We Don't Talk About Bruno too. I didn't think I loved it as much because I loved Surface Pressure, that song. And I think that song's very, very good. But We Don't Talk About Bruno, I went down a YouTube rabbit hole of the deconstruction of this song. And it is an amazing thing. I wouldn't do it justice, like talking about it, but like they took piece by piece and they're like, well, this is made this way because of this and that. And then at the end, it all comes together. And you're like, how do people think of this? Alyssa, did you watch the film?
So I do have this thing where I don't really watch a lot of animated films, not because I think I'm above them, but because I'm not emotionally stable enough for them.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen Encanto, but I have read the plot. And obviously, I've heard a lot of the songs, and I feel like it would emotionally wreck me.
You literally posted Instagram story about Frozen yesterday.
I avoided watching Frozen until this year. Oh, don't even talk. I can't. I was a shell of a human at the end. I only saw the last 10 minutes, and I was like, no.
You only saw the last 10 minutes.
I was like bawling. My little nephew was like, Sissa, okay? And I was like, Sissa is not okay. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. Too emotional. And I feel like Encanto would do the same thing to me.
Oh, yeah. There's some parts at the end
really
that
does
really
hit you, yeah.
hit you. Yeah. It's a great movie. And it's Disney's 60th movie, too. What I like about Encanto is that finally we're starting to see like artists and voice actors that are like representative of these people that we're seeing on screen, where like on Disney Dummies or other podcasts, it's like, okay, Joaquin Phoenix, for some reason, is playing the main character in Brother Bear, who's supposed to play like a native. And you're like, well, this is wrong. Like, it's not good. I feel like we're finally starting to see more representation in Disney, finally, and hopefully it continues. Jesse, what do you have as your first nomination?
All right. I'd like to nominate Dune. So before I start talking about it, have you all seen Dune?
Yep.
Yeah. I have not.
Have not?
I
Alyssa?
literally just finished my second watch through 10 minutes ago.
Oh, no way. Yes. Yeah. Alyssa, did you see it?
I did. Loved it.
Okay.
I was
okay.
extremely
so
here for Timothée Chalamet's coat. That was honestly the best part of the movie for me, personally.
What about his hair?
Not as good as the coat, but also good.
Okay, all right.
What about his brood? Hmm? Anyway, I loved Dune. So I've never read the novel, but I had watched the David Lynch, the 80s one, years and years ago, because one of my buddies who was a huge Dune fan, he's like, we got to watch this movie. He didn't necessarily love the film, but he just wanted to introduce me to that whole world. So going into this one, I kind of had a sense of what the plot was, but I was just there for Denis Villeneuve. I love this director. Like I will watch anything he does. So sign me up. And I'm a big sci-fi fan. I loved how grandiose and majestic everything felt. Like the world building was fantastic. You know, it doesn't take place on Earth or in our galaxy. Everything is completely made up, but it was so believable. So I've been reading and watching a lot of interviews with him, and he said that essentially this isn't an adaptation. It's literally the book. They just took the book and filmed it. They had to make a screenplay out of it, but they didn't bring their own creative ideas. Like they didn't want to express themselves personally through Dune. They just wanted to make Dune. And what an incredible approach, because it paid off. Like the film is fantastic. Yes, it's part 1 of 2, and you do feel it. You know, it ends before you get a real rewarding conclusion. Like they're clearly setting up part 2. But having said that, it's so rich, and it makes you want to see what more. It made me want to go read the book. Yeah, huge success. I loved it.
Nivala, you didn't see this?
I didn't see it, but from like the clips that I have seen and like all the stills, I think the cinematography for it, I'm a really big cinematography person, so that's something that really appeals to me. And then I also didn't watch it because, as Jesse said, it's part 1 of 2, and I'm very much a person that is like, oh, if it's going to come out like in the near-ish future, I'm going to watch them both together.
Wow,
so that's
a
why I've
long
held off on it.
because this movie is pretty long, so that's quite a marathon. I think the first part does end on like, yeah, okay, I can't wait to see the second part. But the first part on its own is very, very good, and I think it tells like a good enough, complete story of what they're trying to do.
I had another friend who was really interested in seeing it, which was surprising to me because he's not really a big movie guy, but I think he just wanted to go out to the theater, and he's like, Jesse, let's go. I'll buy the tickets. Let's just go together. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. He didn't realize that he bought tickets in 4DX, which if you don't know is 3D, but your seats are moving around like a roller coaster, and you've got wind and water being splashed in your face.
No, thank you.
No.
Like I've heard about this my whole life and immediately wrote it off as terrible. Why would anyone subject themselves to it? But we show up and suddenly now we've got to watch Dune, this movie I'm excited for, in this terrible presentation. And I'm like, I was laughing the whole time because it was ridiculous. Like ships, like characters in a ship, and you're like, oh, we're running around and we're being thrown. Like it's crazy, dude. But yeah. I still enjoyed the movie, but I made sure to go see it again in a regular theater. Had a much better time with it.
Okay, so the second time you saw it, you're like, oh, maybe I did like the 4DX, and then you started moving your chair on your own just to replicate it.
Where's smell-o-vision? Come on.
You brought your own sand into the movie theater just to spray it on yourself as the movie's happening? Wow. That's commitment. Yes, Dune is a fantastic movie. I also like Denis Villeneuve. He did Blade Runner 2049 as well. Very amazing film. It's quite a mood is this film. A lot of it is the cinematography that Nivala brought out and the sound and even the costumes, to Alyssa's point. Like, people look good in this movie. The technology looks good in this movie. And to Jesse's point, it's believable even though it's sci-fi. Like, I feel like they don't go ahead and explain every single piece of technology, but when you look at it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. You'd have to see it to know what I'm talking about. But there are like ships that look like dragonflies, for example, and the way like the wings kind of like flutter, you're like, that's all believable. The freaking sandworm is like immense and intense. It's creepy stuff. Alyssa, what do you have? First nomination.
Okay, I'm very excited. This is my personal favorite movie of the year. It was the only movie I wanted to get an Oscar nom. It's the only Oscar snub I care about because I would have loved to see Simon Rex get a Best Actor nom for Red Rocket.
Red Rocket.
Has anyone seen it?
No.
I have not.
No, I have not.
Okay.
You're alone on that one.
This is my pitch for everyone to watch it, except I'm not going to lie, it's kind of a weird movie to recommend to people because it's about a washed up porn star who goes back to his hometown of Texas City and basically crashes with his estranged ex-wife. Mm-hmm. And then he meets this 17-year-old girl and tries to convince her to join the porn industry. So it's kind of like a messed up story, and the character is horrible.
You're not selling me at all.
I know. Just wait. He's basically the worst person on earth. But the performance from Simon Rex, like he's so magnetic. It's like you're watching this like monster human being and you don't want him to leave the screen because he's so good. He has this like really rhythmic, fast way of talking, and it really like shows you how like kind of like a dirtbag person, if they're charming enough, can kind of work their way into anything. It's so funny. It's a Sean Baker movie. He did Tangerine and Florida Project. It's really like aesthetically beautiful, and I cannot say enough about Simon Rex. Like he's just such a treat to watch. He's so funny. Everyone watch it after this because I've watched it like 3 times now. It's a treat. It's so good.
Okay, yeah, I finally watched Florida Project after what? That was a 2017 movie. I just watched it earlier this year, and I'm like, okay, there's something to this movie. This director knows what he's doing. Okay, I would watch this. The premise, I think I can buy into it, so it's fine. I can do it.
Yeah, no, it's worth it for his performance alone, especially because like I only really knew of Simon Rex because he was in that Amanda Bynes show, What I Like About You, like years and years ago. Like this man is not a serious actor, and all of a sudden he's in like conversations for like potential best actor noms, and I'm like, what a redemption story. I love this for him. It's such a fun time.
Is he nom?
So
this Sean not
no,
Sean Baker,
no,
he's not.
Biggest snub of the year. I was devastated.
Okay. All right, Jesse, Nivala, did Alyssa sell you? Will you watch Red Rocket?
I'll give it a go.
Oh, heck
I'll
yes.
give it a go. Yeah.
All right.
It's great. Please send me your reviews after you watch it because I want more people to see this movie.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm in. Where can I find it? Just on the internet?
Yes.
Okay.
I think right now it's available for rental right now.
Okay, I can do it. I rented a lot of movies this year from the comfort of my home to make sure I would be able to watch all the movies for our episode today. That's how dedicated I am, people. You have no idea how many hours this week alone that I ignored Laura to be like, no, I gotta work. She's like, what are you working? What are you working on? Like, you're done your course. You're done all this other stuff. What are you working on? I'm like, I gotta watch movies for the podcast. Now leave me alone. Or do you want to watch it with me? That kind of thing. All right.
The dedication, so impressive.
Yeah, well, Alyssa, you might remember for the rom-coms episode that we did together, top 5 rom-coms. Nivala, you were on that episode too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched like...
I don't think I was on that. I wasn't on that one.
You weren't on that one? Okay, anyways, I watched like 40 hours worth of rom-coms.
That is very impressive.
Yeah, I know all the tropes now. But anyways, my next nomination is not a rom-com. It is my favorite superhero thing of the year. I'd be remiss not to nominate something like that because a lot of people know me as like a big Marvel head guy. I love superhero-esque stuff. People think I love it blindly, like all of the superhero stuff is good. No, that's not true. Snyder Cut's garbage, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm going to say that. But this was a big year for Marvel for me anyway. So I need to get this nomination out of the way. And it's probably not the one that everyone would expect me to say. My nomination is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, I'm looking at the room here. I'm going to say
I'm going to say something controversial.
Okay, can't wait.
I personally think that was the best Marvel movie that came out of last year.
You personally think it was?
It was.
Oh.
And I would say even for me, even over Spider-Man. I'm just saying that.
Okay. Well, that's not controversial. Okay. I thought you were going to hurt my feelings. You're like, Tuong, I'm going to cut you off. Yeah, the room just goes silent. Your pick is the right pick. Oh, thank God. Jesse, Alyssa, I can see from your eyes, you didn't watch it.
No,
Yeah,
I have a tradition of only watching like the last in those series. Like I've only seen the third Thor. I've only seen Endgame. I haven't seen any of the other Avengers movies. I've only seen the third Spider-Man. So I have to wait until there's like 3 of these and then I'll watch one of them.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's
Yeah.
odd.
My excuse is that I have serious superhero fatigue. Like it takes a
That's
lot for me
fair.
to, especially the Marvel movies. Like I find that a lot of them have become very samey, and I know that's kind of very judgmental of me to say, but I am curious in Shang-Chi, especially because you're nominated for top 5. I mean, maybe I'll check it out now.
And I don't.
Yes.
People don't know this, but I don't usually nominate a superhero film, especially like a mainstream one, unless it's like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's a very like specific one, but like part of the MCU, I don't usually nominate this type of movie for our top 5 movies of the year. But Shang-Chi is a very special movie for many, many different reasons. Some of it's very personal, but it's also just, I think, a movie that shakes up the Marvel formula a lot, I think, especially in the origin story department. Yes, it still falls into some trappings of what a Marvel movie is, but it is so much more fresh and different. And I think the reason behind that is the phenomenal Asian casting in it is just great. The martial arts in the move. I'm a big martial arts on screen type of guy. And you see actual martial arts in the film and they shoot it and it's long, wide shots and you can see the choreography. And I'm like, this is amazing. Where we just had the Mortal Kombat movie come out last year as well. Mortal Kombat, all they do is fight. And you don't see any of the fighting. It's ridiculous. Like they keep cutting. Where this, you're showing the movement of it all. And I think that's really special. You get amazing performances by Simu Liu, Awkwafina, like Tony Leung.
Ronnie Chang, my favorite comedian.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh, isn't it?
Yes, that's the name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Really
The
great.
the choreography in that movie is just absolutely stunning. Like that first, I'm gonna give everyone a spoiler alert. It kind of opens to the most beautifully shot fight choreography I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's pretty much what sold me into the movie.
It starts with a romance fight choreography. Like, that's what it is. Like, two people are falling.
If nothing else, I'm absolutely watching the beginning of this movie. That sounds amazing.
I'll send you that clip on YouTube. It's very good. It's like they're fighting, but they're flirting. And it's very sexy.
Yeah.
I love highly choreographed fight scenes. So hearing that they aren't chopping around and cutting around it, it's actually on screen. You may have just sold me on it with that alone.
It's worth it. Like later in the movie, there's more like fantastical power like stuff. But even when they pulled that, the movements of the characters is very kung fu. It's very like they're doing martial arts movements and it looks really, really good. The thing that really drove me with this movie in particular was that it's like the Asian people's, and I can say that because I'm Asian, Black Panther. Like, it was like a big event. I'm like, oh my God, I see myself on screen. It was such a movement for a lot of Asian people to be like, oh my God, we can have a seat at the table. We can be superheroes. And this is actually a good movie beyond that sentiment. And yes, a very special movie. And I agree, it's better than Spider-Man. So let's move on to our next nomination, Nivala.
Okay, guys, this is really hard. And I think even now, as I'm trying to nominate it, I'm still going back and forth with, am I making the right decision? But In the Eyes of Tammy Faye. Have you guys seen that one?
Yes! I am
Good
pumped about
choice.
this.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't seen it, In the Eyes of Tammy Faye is about Tammy Faye Baker, who she was known as at the time. I don't remember her her last known name, but she was a televangelist with her husband, and they ran this religious network. And eventually it just kind of like goes through her life and kind of where they got to. Eventually, later on, her husband ended up getting convicted of fraud from the association, and it's just kind of like going through her life. Jessica Chastain is the actress who plays Tammy Faye, and it was just like I'm very much a person who likes to be along for a ride in a movie, and I felt like I was there with Tammy Faye the entire time, and like I was feeling what she was feeling and just kind of like getting aboard of that, and I just thought it was a brilliant movie.
And the transformation, like the makeup in that movie, like so good.
Mm-hmm. It was just wonderful. Oh my goodness. And then it was kind of like the thing that I really appreciated about it was that it was very much of her perspective. And it was as though you were actually her experiencing everything that was happening. And then the story is kind of disjointed in different aspects, but it's more so because it's just her perspective and her eye. And I thought that was really well done, because I find that sometimes in filmmaking, they don't get that right. It's just always like, oh yeah, this is the perspective, but we're going to develop like other people's story that are around them to keep it interesting. But I thought that they were very true to it being like in the eyes of Tammy Faye.
Also, truly the year of Andrew Garfield.
Was he in that movie too?
Yeah.
He plays
her
like
husband.
the preacher. And he's excellent.
Garfield-a-sans? That doesn't make sense. Andrew.
Oh, I don't know. I like it. Let's run with it.
Garfa-sans? That doesn't sound good either. Alyssa, you like this movie?
I did. It didn't really make my personal top 10, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I feel like it was very underseen. Like I don't think a lot of people watched it, and I think it deserved a lot more praise than it got. It really was it was a fun movie. I thought they did a great job in, making me feel for her. And again, the transformation, Jessica Chastain, can't say enough good things about her performance in this. She was truly wonderful.
She's up for Best Actress, and as of this recording, she is projected to win. So we'll see.
I love her. She deserves it.
Yeah,
I have not seen the movie, but she's incredible, and I would watch it just for her.
All right. Okay. Our next nomination from Jesse. What do you have?
All right. Keeping in theme with my single word titles, I would like to nominate the film Pig.
So good.
Okay.
I'm so happy.
Oh my God. Yes.
I would like to start this by reading the plot synopsis. Okay. A truffle hunter who lives alone in the Oregon wilderness must return to his past in Portland in search of his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped. So if you're anything like me, you probably heard that or watched the trailer and you're like, oh, okay. So he's going to find a kidnapped pig. So it's maybe like Taken. We've got this actor past his prime, Nicolas Cage, probably just some dumb action movie. It is actually so good. So it's not an action movie at all. It's very heartfelt, very grounded, very down to earth, but not what I appreciate is it's not a very glossy film. It's very kind of gritty. It's got this nice texture, gritty, but not in a grungy action way. I don't know how else to describe it. It was shot beautifully, but it's shot to portray how Nicolas Cage is feeling, how his character, what he's dealing with, what he's going through. And what I loved about the movie, first and foremost, is that the script isn't feeding you a lot of exposition. There's a lot of stuff that happens on screen. You have to ask yourself, who's that? And what is their relationship? And slowly, if you just pay attention, by the time it's all over, you can put all the pieces together and you can build your own backstory. Really clever how they pulled that off. I was so impressed with Nicolas Cage. I mean, he's been doing some really questionable stuff the last few years. Put it nicely. Yeah. And to see him come back and do, yes, he's been doing indie stuff, but now he's chosen film where he can really show his acting chops without going over the top crazy. I remembered why I like him so much as an actor. And I love that this is, I think, bringing him back to the mainstream. He's starting to have some bigger roles offered to him. In the next few years, I think we'll see more Nicolas Cage. But anyway, Pig. Ooh. I was really taken aback by it. Loved it.
I haven't seen it, haven't heard about it until now, but you have me convinced to watch it.
It's such a tough movie to talk about because I feel like it's best enjoyed if you go in cold. Because I was the same, I thought it was going to be this, kind of action-y revenge movie, and then was so happy and pleasantly surprised that it was just this beautiful story about grief. And I want to tell people that, but I also don't want to spoil it. I also love, I feel like I would have watched it sooner if I knew it was a movie about a chef. But I'm I also feel like I don't want to tell people that because it's better if you find out pretty soon in the movie. It's not super spoily, but I think, it's a great one to go in cold. And it's just, I think Nicolas Cage, what a wonderful performance. Just a treat to watch.
Yeah, this was part of my binge of this week of watching a zillion movies. I watched this, I finished it yesterday. It's a 90-minute film. I also really enjoyed it. I think when people saw the trailer, and this is how it was pitched to me on the internet where people are watching this and like, oh, it's just John Wick with a pig. So like they took his pig and now he's out for revenge and he's going to go mess up some motherfuckers. Cause like the way he looks is like, oh, he looks like grungy. He looks like a guy who will give no shits to anybody and he'll snap at any moment and beat the shit out of someone. And this movie is not that. And I think if you're trying to preface that to anybody, if they have that expectation, just tell them to like, just wipe that. Go in with a different expectation. You're not watching an action film. You're watching a character study in a lot of ways. A movie about grief and love and loss. And it's all around this idea that is ridiculous on paper. But when they do it in the movie, you're like, of course he cares for this pig. Of course he cares for this pig.
I was like, why am I bawling at this movie? Like I was so like moved by it.
Yeah. And I think to your point, Jesse and Alyssa, like, yeah, Nick Cage, for sure. He's gone off his rocker in the way that, like, he just takes up any project he wants. And I love that about him. He'll just, like, grab any project he wants and act the shit out of it and do the classic Nicolas Cage freak out scene or whatever it is. But in this, yeah, he's, like, acting. And it is refreshing where it's like the director is not just saying, okay, Nick Cage, you're just going to scream for no reason at the camera right now in this room and do a bunch of crazy movements. It's none of that. It's much more muted. It's much more calm and collected and somber and beautiful. Because like I'm looking at his IMDb right now and his next movie for this year is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
I'm excited for that.
I'm also excited about that. But that's the type of movie that I imagine Nick Cage to be in, which is a very meta movie where Nick Cage is playing Nick Cage in a movie. Nick Cage is playing Nick Cage in a movie about Nick Cage. That's what that movie is.
It's too good.
But Pig is not that. It's a really wonderful film. Alyssa, what do you have? Second nomination.
Okay, I feel like this is kind of like a typical, I feel like it's a front runner for Best Picture, but I'm going to go with Power of the Dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have some muted responses?
I can't wait to hear you talk about it. I have things to say, but I'll let you.
Okay, the reason I was so obsessed with this movie, and I'm not going to spoil the ending at this time, but was because I thought the ending was so good, and I couldn't stop talking about it for days. I was like, I can't believe the ending of this movie. I just like loved it. I also wish I could have seen it in theaters. Like I thought it was very beautiful. I thought the scenery was very beautiful. So I kind of felt like that was a little bit lost, like watching it on my laptop. Really enjoyed the performances. Love that it's a woman director. That ending though, I just loved it. I thought it just stuck with me for weeks.
Jesse, Nivala, did you watch Power of the Dog?
I watched it, didn't love it, but I agree with you on the ending. I thought it was good.
It's like one of those movies, when I tell people, I'm like, I'm not going to lie, it's long, it's kind of slow, worth it to stick around for the end.
Interesting. Yeah. Jesse?
I've not seen it. I do appreciate Jane Campion movies, and I kind of like Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, I will, it's on my radar.
I don't. I hate him. And he was so good in this movie.
You hate him?
I don't like him. I just, for some reason, something about him bothers me.
What has he done to you, Alyssa? Tell me.
The syllables.
I don't know. I need to like speak to a therapist about like what Benedict Cumberbatch represents to me. But he's just so despicable in this movie that I think maybe that's why it works for me. But he's so convincing as this like horrible man.
That's so interesting. I'm a Cumber bitch myself. I call myself that. I'm part of those clubs. I call him Benny Cumby in this house. You can ask Laura about that. I love Benedict Cumberbatch, and it all started from my love of Sherlock, that show. I think he's a fantastic and phenomenal actor. And the actors and actresses in this movie, you got Jesse Plemons, Kirsten Dunst, like you have like a hard-hitting actor, director. It's all there, but it just didn't work for me. And I'll talk about that in the second half. I wish I liked it more. And the ending is good. It is good, but it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough. It is a long movie too. It
is long. A lot of them are really long this year.
Oh my God. Yeah. They're like 2 of them are 3 hours long at least. Right. So it's a lot. I think on average, most of these movies for top 10 are like 2.5 hours, which is crazy. Okay. Let's get into our final round of nominations. Here we go. Final round. Oh, this is so hard. It's so tough. I want to nominate like an artsy film, but I'm going to go with my heart here. My heart is going to nominate an animated film. Alyssa, you probably haven't seen it because of that.
Sorry.
It's okay. That's okay. I think this movie flew under the radar for a lot of people unless you were an animator. And I'm not an animator. I just like animated movies. This movie premiered on Netflix. It is made by the same studio who made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It is Mitchell's versus the Machines. Have people seen this?
Let me look it up to see if I've seen it.
Okay.
It sounds familiar.
This movie has been at the top of my list to watch, and then for whatever reason, I only have myself to blame. I bump it at the last second, and something else comes in, and I prioritize that over Mitchell's versus the Machines. I want to see it so badly, and I've only heard good things. The animation style looks phenomenal. I mean, I've seen the trailer. I love how kind of zany and wacky it is, or at least what it seems like. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Nivala, have you seen it?
I have not seen it, but I saw the trailer and I was really excited about it, and it's been on my list.
It's killing me. Okay. If Alyssa is saying that we have to all watch Red Rocket, then you guys have to watch Mitchell's versus the Machines, except for Alyssa maybe, because she might cry.
Thank you.
But no. You have to do it. You have to do it for me, Alyssa. I'm sorry.
I mean, the cast does I'm looking at the cast right now, and it is pretty stacked.
If you liked Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that animation, it's that same studio. They have jumped it to a new level of animation. So you're watching this movie and you're watching how these characters move and the things that are happening. It's like they got a bunch of animators just to say, have fun with it. Do whatever you want with it. And go along with this incredible script and very funny, very heartwarming script about family. And I watched it last night because I watched it when it first came out and I'm like, this was fantastic. I love it, singing its praises. And then as the year went on, I was like, maybe I didn't like it as much. I'm going to watch it again just for our movie podcast. And then I watched it and I'm like, oh my God, it's one of the best movies ever. It really is something special. And I wish you guys saw it so I can talk about some specific aspects of it. But I think on the animation alone, and the heart of the film, it has so much going for it. It's definitely my favorite animated movie of this year, for sure. And there's some really good ones that came out this year. Nivala, final nomination.
So I too was struggling between should I go with the artsy movie or should I go with my heart? And my heart is telling me that I should nominate Jungle Cruise.
Wow, I have a lot of things to say about this movie.
Okay.
I'm excited to hear Nivala's take.
I just love Jungle Cruise only because it touched on this type of the kind of action adventure, Indiana Jones feel type movie that we haven't seen in a really long time. And it was nice to have a little bit of something that was oh yeah, here's this cute little adventure thing that you go on. And now, of course, this year we have Uncharted, but I was if you don't really watch any fun movies of 2021, I would have to nominate Jungle Cruise as a fun one to watch.
I heard comments that it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, that type of feel of a movie. Is that true?
It has a little bit of that. I could see in the little secret sauce of the movie, there's a little bit of pirates added into it.
Okay. I haven't seen it. I really wanted to, but Alyssa has strong feelings. Let's hear it.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say strong feelings, but I wanted to like it more than I did. It's super fun watch. Love Emily Blunt. I will watch anything she's in. Yes. I wanted it. I think me and Tuong have talked about the movie Romancing the Stone before, which is a Michael Douglas movie. I wanted this to be my current Romancing the Stone, and it wasn't.
Alyssa, I feel like The Lost City next week is going to be Romancing the Stone for us.
I think that movie is going to be extremely for me. I'll tell you that right now.
It's funny that you say that because I too sometimes get lost with the camaraderie between Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. And I'm I feel like they had good camaraderie and a good chemistry throughout. But then I also confuse it with their actual in-person interviews. So yeah, I do confess that I haven't seen it in a couple months, but I really did enjoy it at the time.
It's a great Sunday afternoon. You just want to watch a fun movie. It's great for that. The other thing that really bothered me about that movie is he gives her a nickname, which I live for a nickname. But the nickname he gives her is Pants. And I'm I literally spent the whole movie being how could they have made that cuter? Like trousers, like pantaloons.
Yeah.
Like anyway, I was just like, I can't with the name pants. This is ruining the whole movie for me.
Did she have funny pants in the movie?
Well,
No,
it's
she just
in a
wears
time where
pants.
most women would wear skirts.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the main critique.
I've heard the movie compared.
That's my main critique.
I've heard the movie compared to The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser movie, like
Yeah.
where it's just good old fashioned
Mhm.
fun, having a good time. I've not seen Jungle Cruise yet, but perhaps I will check it out.
It
I think
does
it's a
look like
good
one of those
time.
movies that like you just throw on just for funsies to shut your brain off and go on an adventure. It reminds me of, or I haven't seen Jungle Cruise, but it gives me the feeling of like the new Jumanji. Also Dwayne Johnson of just like, oh,
Yeah.
let's just have fun for next hour and a half to 2 hours. And okay, all right. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. I just remember the memes that came out of Jungle Cruise, which was like Dwayne Johnson's always starring in movies where he's in like a tight explorer outfit, and Jungle Cruise is that. They posted 4 to 6 screenshots of different movies, but he's wearing the same thing. Jungle Cruise, Jumanji, Rampage. Like it's just like this tight
Oh, yeah.
explorer outfit.
He
It's
has a
real-
brand and it is strong.
Yeah.
It's good.
He's just like, listen, I have the costume. You don't even need to budget for like me for costumes. You know, I got it. I'll bring
Yeah.
my own.
It's like
He
Dwayne.
shows up to set like that.
Our next movie's in space, and you're like, well, I got this amazing explorer outfit. Can I use that, please? Jesse, third nomination.
Okay. A father travels from Oklahoma to France to help his estranged daughter who was in prison for a murder she claims she didn't commit. The movie is Stillwater.
Ooh.
Okay.
Interesting
I feel
pick.
Yeah. So this is something that I didn't hear a lot of people talk about. I don't know. I don't think I haven't met someone in my own life who has seen it yet. But this is another one where you hear that description and you kind of think, is this like Taken, like a revenge story? I'm going back, I'm traveling to rescue my daughter. It's not that at all. This is another one where I went in blind. I hadn't even seen the trailer. Honestly, I just went because I wanted to see a Matt Damon movie, and he paid off, right? I mean, he's always a great guy to watch. A really emotional story that lets you fill in the background of what this family has gone through. And it's not really a story about the daughter being rescued. It's more a story about the father changing as a human being, even though he's past the part in your life where you normally travel and explore the world and are open to different cultures. But it shows how he's kind of forced to go to France to help his daughter, but he has this coming of age tale himself. Yeah, I loved it. And especially the ending, the last few words spoken in this movie, I will never forget, because it really verbalized how I feel about my own life, having been lucky enough to travel to a lot of different countries myself. Yeah, it really struck me on a personal chord. I loved it so much. And I'd recommend it to anybody, especially anyone who has been to Europe.
Has anyone else seen the movie Stillwater with Matt Damon?
Yes, I have.
Alyssa, tell me what you think.
I have.
Because I haven't talked
liked
to
it.
anybody about this yet.
I liked it a lot. I think the best part for me was seeing Matt Damon. Like, I don't know, how would you describe his character? Like, he's like kind of like a redneck.
Yeah, very
Is that how you would
blue-collar,
describe, like-
very simple.
Yeah, like I was really interested in seeing him play that kind of role because I feel like normally he's like kind of like in cooler roles. I thought he did a really good job. I liked it. I feel like it's been a while since I saw it. I don't like super remember it. And I'm like, later I want you to remind me what those last words were at the end. But definitely like a great watch. Like enjoyed it. Didn't make my personal top 10, but and I also haven't really heard people talk about it. And I think it is a movie that people should see more. It's a good watch. Matt Damon's great in it.
The supporting cast is great too. I'm blanking on the actress who played his daughter. She was in Little Miss Sunshine.
Abigail Breslin?
Yeah, that's it. Abigail Breslin. Excellent.
Yeah, she was good. And I think my favorite part of that movie was there's also this aspect of it where he, has a relationship with someone and kind of becomes like a father figure to her kid. And I think that was my favorite part, was seeing that relationship. I thought that was really sweet. Mm-hmm. And that was probably the selling point of the movie for me.
This was not on the radar at all for me. I remember seeing the trailers and stuff. I'm like, just another Matt Damon movie or whatever it is. And I like Matt Damon. He's fine. I recently watched something with him in it and he was great, but it didn't seem like a movie that I'd enjoy. But hearing your take from this, I think I'll give it a shot. It sounds interesting. Alyssa, you got to bring us home here. One more nomination.
Okay, I'm really struggling because I have like one that's like a beautiful movie and one that's like a fun movie, and I'm trying to figure out which one to go with and also which one I think maybe more people have seen.
Go with your heart. What do you like better?
I'm struggling. Okay, I feel like I don't know if everyone's seen this, but I think we have to talk about Drive My Car.
I have seen it.
I have not seen it.
I've not seen it.
I'm like, should I switch to my other one really quick? I was really resistant to watching it because it is 3 hours long.
It's so long.
The titles don't start till 40 minutes into the movie, which is
wow.
Insane. It's insane.
Wow.
It's wild. And it's also an international film, so it's subtitles. So I was like, this is a commitment. But I understand why it's getting so much love because, again, I feel like all my favorite movies this year were about grief, but it's a really like beautiful look at grief and how it affects different people and how people can come into your life at certain times and help you work through it. And sometimes that's the most unexpected people. There's just a lot of elements of this movie that I found so beautiful. And surprisingly, it kept my attention the whole 3 hours, which I have like ruined my attention span. So that's impressive. And I just think this is another movie more people should see. I think everyone has to deal with grief in their lifetime at one point or another. And it's a really nice way to see that reflected in a movie. And so also in the movie, people are speaking all different languages. In the movie, the main character is a theater actor and director, and he's directing this play that's multilingual. So the characters actually can't understand what each other is saying. They're speaking in different languages. And I felt too that was just like a nice way to kind of bring it home that everyone, no matter where they're from, goes through these kinds of things, and everyone speaks that universal language of the human experience.
Right. Yes. I wish everyone could see Alyssa's hand gestures as she's saying this. The human experience, everyone. You know about life?
Yeah.
Alyssa, I am sold.
It is a beautiful movie. It's also like very beautiful to watch.
I have so much to say about this film in particular. I think I'll save it for the second half. Half. We have our list of 12. Cool. Let's go ahead. These judges for our Pod Cavern Academy today. We need a break. We got to look over the list, put in our ballots, and when we're back, we're going to rank a top 5 movies of 2021 list. We'll be back. Oh my God. My tux. I don't know where my tux is. I'm supposed to be up on stage in 10 minutes to host the Oscars and I don't have my tux.
Tuong, calm down. Think, where did you last see it?
I don't know. I just remember I was at a party and oh my God. I remember I was at a party and they got me to undress and then somehow a bunch of monkeys were involved and then they wore my tux and then they burned my tux. I don't have any clothes for this. Jesse, what do I do?
They lit it on fire.
They lit it on fire. It's crazy.
I think I have an idea. Have you heard of Pod Cavern Merch Store?
Pod Cavern Merch Store? Are you talking about podcavern.com? My very favorite podcasting network. They have a merch store?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, what do I do? How do I get clothes?
Go to podcavern.com and click on the new merch store. I think they got something you could wear at the Oscars.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. What I'm thinking about, I don't even need a tux. As long as I have the Pod Cavern logo, I'm going to feel hot. I'm going to feel sexy. I imagine they have cool things like t-shirts, sweaters, bro tanks,
baby
undies, onesies for my future kid. Yeah.
When you present the Oscar to whoever wins, just wrap it in that little baby onesie.
That's so cute. Now, I have a family that I want to bring on stage with me. My 2 daughters are also with me here, Nivala and Alyssa. Can they also get some merch at the Pod Cavern merch store link?
I hope so, because those Oscars are really heavy, so I think I'll need my tank to show off my muscles while I'm like holding them out,
And it's always been a dream of mine to make the best dress list, and I think this is my best chance.
Okay, yeah. Thanks kids for chiming in on this. All right, Jesse, pull the trigger as my number 1 assistant, as well as my best friend and my part-time lover. Can you please order us some merch?
It's already done. I did it while you were talking.
You know what? The Academy Award goes to you, buddy. Podcavern.com.
Yeah.
Top five.
All right, everyone, we are back from intermission. We just had a huge dance number by a bunch of celebrities. Alyssa, can you name some of those celebrities in this dance number?
Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
I don't know why he was even at the Oscars, maybe just to do this dance number, but he did great, as per usual. Also, Andrew Garfield, because it is the year of Andrew Garfield. They gave him the starring role.
The Garfisons, we know this.
I was happy to see that. Who was your favorite?
Oh, man. You know, Ariana DeBose, she just came out. She was rocking it. She was leading the entire charge. But it was really weird when Michael Cera showed up, I have to say. It's like, okay, Michael Cera, I know you haven't been in anything in a while, but he was just like, hey, guys, remember Juno? And I guess, yeah, we do remember Juno, Michael Cera. Sure, whatever.
What else has he been in?
Oh, things. This Is the End, which was a 2012 movie. So I don't know.
Super bad in 2007.
Yeah.
Ages ago.
But you know what? I was so distracted by Michael Cera that I forgot what song they were all singing. Jesse, do you remember which song they were singing?
I think they were all singing I Hate Tuxedos.
Weird thing to sing at the Oscars.
I
don't get it.
Because everyone's in tuxedos, so like you got to own it.
Down with
It's
tuxedos.
the Oscars revolt.
That's right.
They all want to be
So
Jason
nuts.
Sudeikis at the Emmys wearing his
Emmys.
hoodie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Guys, let's focus here. Enough about the intermission, the I Hate Tuxedo song. Very strange. Let's forget about that. We got to focus in on our list because I forgot to tell you this, but we actually are in charge of the Oscar winners this year. They messed up
pressure.
so badly, the Academy, that they're like, guys, Podcavern, please just give us your list. We'll just say whatever you say for your top 5. That's who's going to be actually awarded this year. Because of the whole, remember the Moonlight debacle a few years ago?
Of course.
They don't want that to happen again. They're like, you guys just handle it, okay? Nivala gets to present the awards for everyone. Okay, Our list is Coda, Encanto, Dune, Red Rocket, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, In the Eyes of Tammy Faye, Pig, Power of the Dog, Mitchells versus the Machines, Jungle Cruise, Stillwater, and Drive My Car. All right, we got to narrow this down into a top 5 list. It's a very strong list. Also, some unexpected stuff on this list, too, which I'm pretty pumped about. Some stuff that wasn't even Oscar nominated has entered the ring. I'm looking at you, Jungle Cruise, sneaking your way into this list. But we got to narrow this down. Nivala, can you star a nomination that isn't one of your own for further consideration?
Listen, I am of the mindset that Coda should be number 1.
Okay, we will star Coda. Jesse, star one that isn't one of your own.
I'm going to star Red Rocket because Alyssa's description of it sounded very intriguing.
Okay, Alyssa, star one.
I'm going to star Pig.
All right. I'm going to star Dune. Okay, we have Coda, Dune, Pig, Red Rocket. Those are the ones that are starred. Let's open up to the floor a little bit to star any other ones that in our heart we want to fight for. It can be one of your own at this point. Does anybody have anything else they really want to fight for?
I would like to fight for... Hold on, let me think about it.
You don't even know what you want to fight for. You just want to fight.
No, I'm just ready
I'm
to
gonna jump
fight.
in. I'll jump in and I want to star Dune again.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you don't have to do that because we're already starred, Jesse.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, yes.
Yeah, I want to talk about Power of the Dog. I really want to hear everyone's in-depth thoughts about it.
Okay. All right.
I would like to put Shang-Chi on there.
All right. Love it.
Yeah.
So we have Coda, Shang-Chi, Dune, Pig, Red Rocket, Power of the Dog. That's 6. Anything else that we want to star at all? What about our Jungle Cruise over here? Do we want to ride on
Honestly,
this cruise?
I'm just like, I am 100% there for Jungle Cruise. I'm just not convinced I can convince everyone onto the Jungle Cruise.
What about Encanto? Just in terms of like, I feel like that movie was everywhere. Like, there's so many TikTok trends from that movie. I feel
That's
like
true.
massive.
I'm debating Encanto or Mitchell's. I'm very much partial to Encanto because I've seen it, but then Tuong really convinced me in the nominations that the Mitchells versus the Machine is also a good movie.
That's what I'm leaning towards. I just don't know how I can pitch it.
I'm going to start both of them because I do think we should have an animated movie represent this list just for the variation of it all. It was not the strongest year for animation, but those two in particular were very good. So I think we should have one of them. Let me read the rest that aren't starred and let me know if you're like, no, we got it. It has to be on this list. In the eyes of Tammy Faye. What are we thinking here?
I think more people should see it.
I'm okay with letting this one slide.
I was going to say I think more people should see it, but I don't know if it's top 5.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Tammy Faye. Guess I'm closing my eyes to Tammy Faye.
Oh, no.
Jungle Cruise?
I really like Jungle Cruise because I think it's an accessible movie too. I mean, you know, there's like that debate with the Oscars right now where it's like, oh yeah, the Oscars, they're always nominating good movies, but like half the people haven't seen these movies. And so I like the idea that we have an accessible movie for like the just like
the mainstream, the normies out there. No, I agree. I've already said before, I think a lot of Oscar movies are hoity-toity about things. They always have to have some hidden message in it, or they have to be like slow, like a very slow burn. I'm looking at you, Drive My Car. But there's something to be said about like movies that are just like candy, right?
As my boss would say, it's bubblegum.
Why bubblegum? Does anyone eat bubblegum anymore?
Great question. No.
Kids do. So does that mean it's a kid's movie?
Jungle Cruise is certainly a kid's movie.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not a bad thing.
I don't know if it's a kid. It's a family movie.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, fair enough. Nivala, you have the strongest attachment to Dwayne Johnson, specifically.
I really do. I'm like his number one fan.
It's his smoldering smile gets him through a lot of things. I don't know about his range as being an actor, but I do like him a lot. I don't think so.
Yeah. I think I just like him as a person, and then I'm just like, you know, I gotta support him. Just like how I loved Crazy Rich Asians, and I was like, I gotta support them.
That's a great movie.
Great movie.
8 times in theaters. 8 times in theaters.
Stop.
You know?
That is
that's iconic.
That's how invested I was with seeing a second movie.
That's amazing.
And it still hasn't happened, unfortunately.
Yeah, it still hasn't happened.
Wow. Is there any other movie out there that you've seen 8 times in theaters? Now I'm just curious.
I've seen Hidden Figures 5 times in theaters. I've probably seen that movie like 30-something times in my life. And it's only been out for like 6 or 7 years, I think. If that much.
Curious. Okay. This is actually really good to know. Would you see Jungle Cruise another 2 to 8 times?
I would probably see it another 2 times.
2 times, okay. That's you say
commitment right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a low number, but then I'm like, I wouldn't watch another movie that I've seen already another 2 times. Like, it's really rare for me to do that all the time. Okay, Jesse, thoughts on Jungle Cruise staying?
I'm unfortunately gonna have to be the guy who kicks Jungle Cruise off the star list. I think that boat deserves to sink.
Deserves to sink.
R.I.P. Jungle Cruise.
Okay, all right. I think I have to agree. Jungle Cruise is now a jungle snooze. That's what we'll go with.
I did not see that coming, and that was very good. I was like, what other words start with CR?
It's a shame that Jungle Cruise is going to jungle lose. It's spot off the list. Okay. I've been doing this show way too many times. This is all. Stillwater. What are we thinking here? Jesse?
Well, I mean, I brought it to the table. I think it deserves a star. Absolutely.
Do you think it deserves, out of the company that it's with right now, again, I'll repeat, Coda, Shang-Chi, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, Encanto, Dune, Pig, Red Rocket, Power of the Dog. We have a lot here. Do you think it has a fighting chance to be on the top 5?
I'll be honest. Yes, I do. I just don't know if I am equipped to go to bat and bring it home into the top 5.
Do you have more to say about it if I star it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, I'll star it. The other ones that weren't starred was Drive My Car, Alyssa. We kind of talked about it, but not really.
I'm okay with that. I feel like that's okay. Everyone watch it, but I'm okay with it not continuing on in the conversation.
I watched this movie not too long ago in theaters. It was a long watch. Did you watch it in theaters too, Alyssa?
No, I wish. It would never come here. We only have like one theater. It has 8 screens, and I keep joking, like, Spider-Man's been taking up 2 screens for like 4 months since that movie came out. So we don't get those kinds of movies here.
Okay.
I wish, but no, I just watched it on my TV.
And did you pause it at any point, or did you watch it straight through?
Straight through.
Okay, all right. I wanted to like this movie. I really did. I find it really hard with some Asian films, foreign films. I think about Burning a lot, the Steven Yeun film a few years ago. I think that was a Korean film, and a lot of people were talking about it's like a deep character study again, very slow burn type of movie. Lots of like glances, lots of long shots of seemingly nothing. That's what Drive My Car is.
100%.
Lots of shots of that guy driving his car. It's like
Yep.
2 minutes of just like him on the highway or something like that, an aerial shot. And I'm like, and Alyssa's right. Like, I thought the movie was pretty much halfway. And then all of a sudden, the title card shows up and credits for the movie.
It's wild.
And I'm like, oh my God.
I am in for a long ride.
For another 2 hours and 20 minutes of this film. I have to say, I really wanted to like it. I did not. And I just think it was just too long for the sake of being long, even though I liked what it was going for, I think. It didn't like
That's
me.
fair. Thoughts on the shot of both of their hands with the cigarettes outside the sunroof of the car?
Amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
Moments like that, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So good. There's also a scene with, they're like at this like garbage place, and I don't know if it's the East Coaster in me, but there's this like beautiful shot of the water, and I was like, I want that framed in my home. It's beautiful.
I want to go back to your point of like, this movie's about grief and how they handle it. And I think Pig handles it better, honestly.
Well, I think too, Pig handles it faster.
Yeah,
also,
that's right.
And in a more accessible way, for sure.
It is two different. It's not entirely different. I was going to say like the way they like what they're grieving about, I think. Because like you feel with Nick Cage, and we're going to get into somewhat spoilers for these movies. So watch out if you haven't seen some of these movies. But with Pig, you really get the sense that like, you know, he lost his wife and that he projects a lot of his like loss also. He found love again with the pig. Like it's like his best friend, right? So losing another important piece of himself, he starts grieving about it. Where in Drive My Car, it is about like he loses his wife in the movie and then it's like, oh, well, I know she was cheating on me. I know she was having an affair with other men, but like that's kind of her creative process. And he's like justifying that whole thing. And it's very strange. And at the very end of the film, he breaks down and realizes like how unhealthy that was to like think like that and, you know, that kind of thing. It just takes a long way to get there is what I'm trying to say.
It does,
yeah.
Yes. I feel like this is not a movie that like a ton of people are going to commit to.
And I don't mind films and like subtitles and stuff like that. I watch a lot of anime anyway, so like Japanese in particular is something that like I really love the language. So I was like, oh, I think I'll like this film. But there's a lot of like you trying to figure out what's happening in the film for a good long while before it starts to click. The beginning scene starts with them having sex and she's telling a story, but you don't really know if she's losing her mind or what it is. And you find out later in the film, this is her creative process. She needs to have sex to come up with good stories so that her husband, who she's having sex with, can write it down the day later and make it into a play. And I'm like, okay, all right. I've never been there personally. I can't relate. But maybe I should try. And that's the lesson I got from Drive My Car. Yeah, okay. I'm okay with leaving it behind. Sounds like everyone else. I'm not selling them on Drive My Car whatsoever. So
hearing you talk about grief, though, I think it's for these reasons that I can go to bat for Pig more so than I can about Stillwater.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe
very much so on board for Pig.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, maybe because I've seen it more recently than Stillwater, but it seems like a movie that more people will watch just based on the premise. Like the premise does hook you in. And sure, it's a bit of a misdirect, but still worth talking about. I think that could easily be in the top 5.
I agreed.
Let's get rid of Drive My Car. Does anyone have anything witty to say about it before we leave it off? Nothing.
This car's gonna crash, man.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'll take it. Okay, so here's our list of things that we're talking about. Coda, Shang-Chi, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, Encanto, Dune, Pig, Stillwater, Red Rocket, and Power of the Dog. That's 9. That's a lot. We got to cut 4 of them to make a top 5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read that list one more time, and we're just going to say if it's a lock or not. Locks have to be unanimous. You don't have to give me a whole spiel of why you're locking it. I just want to see how we're feeling in this room. Okay, Coda, lock or no lock?
Lock.
That's a lock.
Lock.
Yeah.
Lock.
Lock.
Okay. Shang-Chi, lock or no lock?
I think
No
it's a lock.
Okay.
I think it could be a lock.
It's okay. We'll get back to it. I would lock it personally, but we're just trying to figure it out. Mitchell's versus the Machines, lock or no lock?
I would like
No
to
lock.
talk about this one with Encanto.
Okay, so I think we can both.
Yeah.
That's a battle. We'll duke it out. Dune, lock or
Yeah.
no lock? That's a lock for me.
Lock.
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 Okay.
Lock.
Yeah.
I think that's a lock.
Just based on Timothée Chalamet's hair, I have to say. Just so good. And he's such a scrawny man, too. I don't understand. You know, a lot of people are like, Timothée Chalamet, he's so hot. I had a colleague who's just like, he's so sexy. And I didn't see it. I couldn't see it. But now I kind of do.
It's the confidence.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Pig, lock or no lock?
I think it's a
That's a
lock.
lock.
That's a lock for me, too. Stillwater, lock or no lock? It's not a lock. Not a lock for me.
No.
No lock.
Red Rocket, lock or no lock? I'd lock this just based on Alyssa's passion behind it.
Me too. Lock.
What do we have locked so far?
We have Coda, Dune, and Pig. But locks are not binding. It's just a way for us to figure this out.
It makes it hard because I haven't seen it, but I am intrigued by it. So I would say it's a hesitant lock.
All right.
Okay,
I say we move on from Red Rocket. That doesn't sound like a lock
yeah,
to me.
me too. Power.
Would you buy a hesitant lock for your house?
Wow.
Well, no, it
That's
just
a good
means
question.
yeah, that's true.
Jesse works in
It just
sales,
means
so
like, we could filter it out.
Power of the Dog, lock or no lock?
That's a no
See,
lock for me.
This one's tough for me because I like Red Rocket more, but I think Power of the Dog is more of a lock.
Wow. I have to say it's a Power of the Slog for me. Like it's a really it's a really long movie.
Yeah. I
Well,
feel like
I-
I'd probably like Red Rocket over the Power of the Dog.
It's definitely like a more fun watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesse, Power of the Dog?
I'm also going to say no lock.
Okay. We'll get back to it if you
Yeah.
really want to fight for it, Alyssa.
Honestly, I'm happy to keep talking about Red Rocket. I'll talk about that for hours and hours and hours. So I'm just surprised. I feel like Power of the Dog is a lock for best pick.
It is a lock for best pick, but it's totally one of those movies. That's what I mean by Oscar movies. I'm like, I look at it, I'm like, yeah, for obviously the Academy's just eating this up. And I hate them for it. And that's why we're doing the work for them. Okay, so Coda, Dune, and Pig are locked. I feel pretty good about those guys. I feel as though they probably won't move off of the top 5 list. I think we should try to... Let's have our animated fight, because I think one of those guys will make the list.
I'm going to lock Mitchell's versus the Machines. I have not seen it. I'll reiterate that, but it looks so creative and so wacky. And my favorite thing about animation is when they do things that you can't do in real life, like just insane stuff. The camera's moving in ways that is not possible in reality. And I feel like that movie is taking advantage of everything that animation allows. Encanto, yeah, it's a little bit cartoony, but there were moments where people were dancing in Encanto, and it literally just looked like I was watching motion capture footage, if you will.
Ooh.
And there were parts where I was like, did this
Yeah.
really have to be animated? I mean, minus all the magic stuff going on, right?
Sure.
So for that reason, I'm going to lock Mitchell's.
What is Mitchell's about?
What is Mitchell's about? Let's see here. I'm trying to not give away the entire plot. Okay, so it's about the Mitchell family. So it is a family movie, and you really get to learn a lot about this family and how dysfunctional they are. We do find out that, like, the main character. She's going off to college for film schools, and she hasn't found her people, but she started finding her people through film school, and she's really excited for college that she just got accepted to. But her and her dad have not, they've been drifting as they got older, and they used to be very close. So her dad, as someone who wants to fix everything, wants to go on a family road trip to drive her to college. So she's missing like the first week of college so that she can be on a family road trip with her parents. So it starts off like that. But then the movie kind of takes a left turn, and it's surprising because it's not worse for it. I thought like, they just have to go there. That was in the back of my head. But what ends up happening is essentially the machine apocalypse happens, where some big tech company created robots that obviously go out of control, and they're trying to take over the world, and they don't need humans anymore, kind of thing. And the Mitchell family is the only family left on planet Earth to save the day. But like, that is definitely part of the story. But the real story is the relationship with the family and how they're trying to make amends with one another, because they are growing apart. But as the movie goes on, you realize that, yeah, their differences are kind of what make them family. And they tell that in a very sweet way. But also the animation's just bananas. Like, it's exactly what Jesse said. Like, it is something that you couldn't see on like live action, because they just pepper in animation for the sake of it and because it's fun. And it has one of the cutest dogs in the entire, one of the best dogs in the last, I'm going to say 3 years of movies. One of the best dogs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, based on that, even though I feel like Encanto is very much so more representative, I would be inclined to say Mitchell's versus the Machines then.
I think
purely
me
because
too.
because they sound similar in terms of like the stories of the movie. But as Jesse pointed out, it's animation, and Encanto very much is something that it could have been done via motion capture and like special effects.
I was not prepared to switch my vote over to Mitchell and the Machine, Mitchell versus
the Machines.
But I'm like, oh, maybe I should watch this movie, except it does sound like I would cry at the end. So
you should watch this movie.
I think I'm switching my vote.
You should watch this movie.
I think I'm switching my vote to that. It actually sounds wonderful.
And I should say, I really liked Encanto as well. I think the thing that I liked about Encanto the most was the staying power of the music. I was shocked by that, honestly. Like, we don't talk about Bruno and Surface Pressure, like, and the one that's nominated for the Oscar this year, I forget how the exact pronunciation of it. It's a very beautiful song. I'm gonna butcher it, but it is a very good film, Encanto. But I also feel as though, is a critique I have about Disney in the last like 10 movies, ever since Tangled, a lot of their characters look the same, and there's no like. And a lot of like movies that aren't Disney kind of rip off how Disney creates their characters now too. They all have like these big eyes, like the same facial structures and all this other stuff. Animations, I feel like, kind of hit a rut. Even though everything looks beautiful, it all looks like it's in the same universe, right? So like the Encanto people, I could totally see a situation where they could talk easily to the Frozen people, easily to the Tangled people, and I wouldn't miss a beat, right? Whereas like Mitchell's versus the Machines looks like a different movie. And I think they're pushing the boundaries of animation way further, and I think I like it better for that.
I think that one's the lock.
Okay. All right. If everyone agrees with that.
Yeah.
And can't no is what I'm gonna say too. You can stop me at any time. I don't have to keep doing this.
Honestly, that's been my favorite part.
I love it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. But people should watch Encanto anyways, if not just for the memes.
That's our fourth lock by my count.
Yeah.
Ooh, we just need one more.
So we're fighting for Stillwater, Red Rocket, and Power of the Dog. I know where my vote is personally, but let's hear it. Stillwater, you still want to make a case for this, Jesse?
I feel like the fact that I got Pig and Dune both starred, I don't want to be greedy about Stillwater, and I am genuinely interested in Red Rocket. Alyssa, you sold me on Simon Rex's performance. Sounds like maybe his character is very sketchy, but that's kind of fun to watch sometimes.
It's very fun.
it is on my radar. So for this reason alone, I'm going to side with you on Red Rocket.
Okay.
Love it.
Nivala, thoughts?
I thought we were talking about Shang-Chi as well.
Oh, yeah, Shang-Chi's on the list. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But I would take Red Rocket over Power of the Dog. If that's the conversation that we're sort of deciding between.
It
just
sounds like
seems
Power of
more
the Dog has
intriguing.
been ruled out.
Yeah, I think so too. Is it worth talking about the spoilers? Will that change anyone's minds, or do we not need to, Alyssa?
I kind of don't want to, in case I don't want to. I feel like I would rather take Red Rocket into a lock and then have you guys experience the ending spoiler free than fight for the spoiler.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say,
True movie fan.
Cody Smith McPhee in those jeans is burned into my brain forever, and it's disturbing to me. Anyways,
In a good way, bad way, disturbing?
just in a confused way. Like, he is so skinny. I'm like, how is this man standing up?
Yeah, I really wish I liked Power of the Dog more. I think I watched this for my birthday. I asked to watch this movie for my birthday this year. I'm like, Laura, we have to watch it. It has Benny Comby. Like, what are we even talking about here? It's Netflix number one movie. It's like front runner for the Oscars. Like, let's get into it. And as I'm watching it, I just couldn't get over just the I know it's a slow movie, so I'm not even a problem with that. It's just, it does take so long to get there, and it only gets there at the very, very
end.
And yeah.
And is that worth it? I don't think so. Like, that's a huge buy-in.
The end was so worth it for me.
Yeah, okay.
I want you two to watch it
know.
and then circle back with us.
Yeah, circle back.
I think it's a good read about it.
That's fair.
Jesse, will you watch this film?
Because it is so long.
I'd watch it.
All
I will
right.
go in with trepidation, but I will watch it.
Okay, all right. But Power of the Dog is off this list. This dog is being put down.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yikes.
All right. So we have Stillwater, Red Rocket, and Shang-Chi. I think the room is going to Red Rocket. I kind of glossed over Shang-Chi. I'm personally okay with Shang-Chi not being on the top 5 list for this group. I wanted to represent this specific group. And I will say that Shang-Chi for me on a personal level is probably number 1 or number 2 of the entire year. Like, it really changed the trajectory of my year. So I'll be a little personal for just a second. So ever since I watched Shang-Chi, I started going to therapy. And the reason behind that was because I wanted to discover more about my Asian roots. And it's something that I struggled with for a very long time, because I was just like, okay, well, the joke when I grew up was just like, I was always like the banana in the group. So I was like yellow on the outside and white on the inside. And all my friends were mostly white. And even though I had Asian friends too, but I was really into wanting to be part of the white club. You know what I mean? And because of that, I feel like I got away from what being Asian was and Asian excellence. And then I saw Shang-Chi and I'm like, holy shit, look at this mainstream Marvel movie with Asian excellence written across the entire thing, from the people who made it, to the music, to the choreography of it, the look and the feel of all these people. And I'm just like, these people are doing it. They are fully embracing themselves as Asians and also people who grew up in North America. So they have both sides of it. And then that got me inspired. And I was like, I want to explore the duality of myself so I can be a better version of myself. And it all came from this Marvel movie, which is bananas to me, but it worked for me. And that wasn't the message behind Shang-Chi, I will say that, but that's what I got away from it. Because people like Simu Liu was also being like, look at what we can do, right? Like we Asian people, Crazy Rich Asians did the exact same thing too. It's there's room for everybody in Hollywood and in media and stuff like that. All that said, I still think Red Rocket would probably make more sense for this list, because Shang-Chi's more personal to me.
I'm also I'm like, can we really take a movie that changed a life and put a movie about a porn star corrupting a 17-year-old ahead of it? I don't know about that.
Well,
yeah, I'm also for Shang-Chi as well, because I think you touched on representation on it. And it is also a movie that really spoke to me as well because of the representation. And it's kind of like I'm a first generation, I guess, is it a first generation immigrant? I'm not too sure, to Canada. And it's interesting too, because you kind of find yourself in the spot where you're like not necessarily like you want to keep your own culture, but then you also kind of adopt a little bit more of the Canadian culture. And then it's just kind of like, where do you find yourself on that spectrum of your identity? And I thought Shang-Chi was a great celebration of that, because it's nice to see someone or like a group of people that are kind of in the same sort of situation that you're in and still going out there and like doing this and celebrating, this is our culture, but then we also have this other side to us as well. And so that was really something that I thoroughly enjoyed about Shang-Chi.
Mm-hmm. I can see that too. Jesse, what are your thoughts here?
These are all things that I love to watch in movies. I mean, you get to see other cultures, and yes, this is very fantasy and majestical, but hearing you talk so passionately about it makes me want to see it through your eyes. So I know when I'm going to watch Shang-Chi, I'm going to be thinking what was going through your mind when you watch it. You may have just completely flipped my enthusiasm from Red Rocket to Shang-Chi.
Wow, I did not expect that. I was only saying that to get it off my chest because I didn't think I'd sway the room here. But I mean, obviously, I feel very strongly about it. Like I will say another personal thing is like since seeing Shang-Chi, have been taking bi-weekly Vietnamese lessons, like forcing myself to learn my language because it's something that I've denied, even though my parents made me to go 10 years of Vietnamese schools on Saturday. And I just played hooky and like did not do my homework whatsoever. I just did not give a shit. I'm like, I want to be one of the white folk. English is all I need. And this movie was the catalyst of like, oh no, you know what? F it. I want to see what my life is. Like, I'm not going to change this version of myself, but what else can I become by like, absorbing the Vietnamese part of myself? Can I also be like these people in Shang-Chi on screen? So
I also like having this in the list because I think when people talk about best movies of the year, like they can get a little snobby and think that kind of movie is just like a fun popcorn flick. But having that like proof of how meaningful it truly is, I think it deserves a spot in the top 5.
Wow. All right. Okay. I will, I guess, lock it. Before we get rid of Red Rocket, though, I will say I'm going to read the list and I want to see if there's any other thing that we want to take off the list for it. Okay. Coda, Shang-Chi, Mitchell's, Dune, Pig. Can Stillwater or Red Rocket take any of those guys off?
Not for me.
Not for me.
I feel like no, but before we say goodbye to Red Rocket, I do want to tell you guys. So the movie's very, very funny. And the main character, he's like delusional. He tells people he's this like super famous guy. And he's talking about how he was in this parody of The Fast and the Furious called The Fast and the Furious. And while he's talking, he's like, then Paul Walker has to go and get himself killed. That messed up my chance of ever being in a sequel. So that's just a little taste of what this guy's like. Literally just the only tragedy he could see in Paul Walker's death was the own decline of his career. So
this movie sounds excellent. You've really sold me on this movie, Alyssa. I really want to see it. It's very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the Red Rocket is a dead rocket. And no, that's a Red Rocket into the sun and burned to ashes because it's off the list. How about Stillwater? I feel like Stillwater is off the list too, right, Jesse?
I think it's off the list.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we know why this water is still. All right, I did all of them. I don't have to do any more. God damn it. Okay.
Still love you, Tuong. It's fine.
I know. Thank you for that. Okay, we have our list of 5. Coda, Shang-Chi, Mitchell's, Dune, Pig. Let's go from 5 to 1. What's our number 5?
I'd go Mitchell's.
I think that's a fair bet because a lot of these movies we've talked about their personal impact, like what it has changed within us on some level. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anyone has mentioned that for Mitchell's yet.
Yeah. I will say, like, I really like Mitchell's. I really do. I think a lot of the messaging is very good in it. It's maybe stuff that we've already heard in past movies. I think sometimes in this movie, the emotional beats do replicate some things from animated movies I've seen before, like the Lego movie, for example, and several Disney movies. I'm like, oh, I've heard this message before. It's being told really well, but it's not changing my life because I, as an adult watching this animated movie, know this already. I do think it's good, but I can see it at number 5 only because you guys haven't seen it. What's number 4?
Pig.
I could get behind that.
I would say Shang-Chi would be 4
I could see that too.
for me.
Okay.
I think I like Shang-Chi more, but I can see it at number 4.
You saw Pig, right, Tom?
I saw Pig, yeah.
And you're ranking, you think Pig might be higher than Shang-Chi?
For this list, yeah. For my personal list, no, but for this list, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I think at the end of the day, like, Shang-Chi is a Marvel movie still. And I think, like, there's a lot of people who can get fatigued from it. It doesn't completely break the formula, even though it does a really good job in being different. But there are still aspects of it that you're like, yeah, that's still a Marvel movie. I think, Alyssa and Jesse, you'd still really enjoy it. But you'll start seeing the trappings later where you're like, oh, yeah, of course. It's just, you know, there's summer blockbuster action-y stuff in here with amazing fight choreography. But, yeah, I think Pig has more to say, I guess, and that's why I can see it.
Okay, so let's put
I'm okay with that.
Shang-Chi at 4.
Yeah, let's put Shang-Chi at 4.
Shang-Chi at 4, yeah.
So we have Pig, Dune, and Coda.
I think
I'm going to vote Pig for number 3.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
My thinking
I
behind
did
it
my
is
ranking the other way, so I'm just like...
going in reverse. Here's my thinking for Pig being number 3. It's a very simple story. Like, it's not very complex. It's not very... I mean, it is layered, but it's super easy to grasp. And even though it's a good film, it's not really the sort of thing that would stick with you forever, right?
Alyssa, thoughts?
I think it's good at number 3. I think, especially thinking of the other two, I think number 3 is a good spot for it.
Yeah, I agree. My take is a little bit more simple. Pig is 3 letters. It belongs at number 3.
It's meant to be.
That's it. And then it's just like, well, for a movie called Pig, we don't really get to see the pig for very long in the movie. So it doesn't get to go number 2. And then Dune and Coda for 2 and 1. Thoughts?
I think Coda number 1.
Yeah, Coda definitely number 1.
I think Coda number 1 for the heartwarming factor.
Yeah.
Jesse has things to say?
Yes, well, I mean, I haven't seen Coda yet, so and I loved Dune so much. So for me, Dune is number 1.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And why is that?
You know how I was saying with Mitchell's, what appeals to me is that it seems to be the sort of thing that can only exist as an animated movie. When I'm watching a movie or when I'm watching anything, I like to assess it from the angle of could this be anything else? So with movies, could this have just been a TV show? Could this have been a play? Could this have been a book? But with Dune, you know, ironically based on a book, so I guess yes, it could have been a book, but the way they executed it, I was thinking like, no, what they're doing here had to be a movie. It's made for a big screen. Grandiose was the word I used before. And I keep coming back to that because it's just it's so big and everything feels bigger than anything we've ever seen in reality, right? The universe they constructed and all the different planets, and all the different cultures and societies and how they work together. It's all laid out in a mysterious, intriguing, but gorgeous way that was inspiring, honestly.
It is quite a big epic. And I will say that like the David Lynch Dune really, and I'm not going to read the Dune book, but the David Lynch Dune is like one of the worst movies I've seen in forever. Just so bad, so confusing. I'm like, they're really going to try this again? Are you kidding me? But this movie is just so confident in itself. They don't talk down to the audience. I think like there is a lot of concepts and historical things to the movie of like the politics behind it, different factions and all this stuff, but they don't like do like this crazy exposition that like tells you everything. I think they just slowly drip this out and you fill in the blanks and you understand the world quite well. And I think visually Dune is just a super impressive movie that you'd want to see on like the biggest screen possible because it's that good. So Alyssa, you know, obviously don't watch
Thankfully,
Dune?
it did come here.
Okay, I was going to say,
God.
don't watch it on your laptop, is what I'm saying.
But also, that's an interesting point, too, because I feel like I'm not going to rewatch Dune because I'm never going to have, like, that experience where I feel like I'm going to rewatch Coda again and again and again.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it, too.
Yeah.
I was going to, yeah.
And then also, like, to Jesse's explanation, I would say you could argue the exact same thing for Coda. Like, you couldn't see it in a TV. It wouldn't necessarily work as a TV show or as a book or as a play.
What about a play? Could Coda be a play?
No, definitely not.
Oh, interesting. You're making me want to watch it.
Yeah, and just for that scene where Tuong was saying that she's singing, and then they actually make you kind of like at the perspective of the parents, and they can't actually hear what's going on. And that experience itself, I think, can only be done in a movie.
And it's super funny, too. Like, I think it's, like, a good eye-opener about how people, like, tell jokes while they're using ASL, and it's like a really great, like, visual watch.
I have never seen a movie like Coda, and that's kind of where I landed with it. I think we are finally getting to a place, especially in the last year, things that come to mind are even Marvel stuff like Eternals, things like Hawkeye and Coda. We're seeing ASL in mainstream movies, and it's very refreshing to see that. I think we've gone through many, many, many movies where like the deaf community is not represented whatsoever, or they're like a throwaway character or whatever. This movie puts them not only front and center, but they show you all of the angles of what it's like to be deaf and to be related to someone who's deaf. And I guess I'm a pretty emotional person. I think I well up sometimes in movies like Disney movies, Pixar movies, that kind of stuff. Coda hit me more than once. Like, it made me feel stuff, and I was just like, I don't remember having these many emotions as much as I've had in a long time. And it reminded me, like, it's also a feel-good movie too, so that really helps. And I think in a pandemic world where everything's just so bad a lot of the times, to have a movie like this was such a ray of sunshine in my life, and I feel like I really needed that. Any other points that we want to make for Coda or Dune? I
would be happy if Coda were number one.
Okay.
Because you know what? Silver is still great.
Still good.
Who doesn't like Silver?
Yeah.
So I'd be happy with Dune being it too. If Coda's at number one.
I definitely recommend everyone watch both movies. I will spoil a small thing in Coda that I have to talk about. There's like 3 scenes that really made me like, oh, my feelings. But I invite you to watch it yourself, and you have to pause this recording, do it. But I'll mostly say this for Alyssa and Nivala here. There's a scene with her dad who's up for Best Supporting Actor, which is amazing because he's already won at like the SAG Awards or something like that, where obviously he can't hear his daughter singing, but it's really important to her. So he's just like, sing to me, and he signs that out. And she's like, okay. And she's singing to him, but obviously he can't hear her. So he puts his hands on her throat to hear her sing. And it's just one of those things where you just feel the emotion.
I'm like, this is making me cry thinking about it.
What? Look at this. He's trying so hard to connect with his daughter, and like, I can't believe this. And yes, there's so many moments like this in this film that it just opens your eyes to a different world that I feel as though haven't spent enough time really thinking about how the deaf community really feels. And this really opened my eyes to that. Cool. All right. I think we have agreement. Lots of head shakes that we have here. So lots of nodding. Okay, here we go. Our list. Number 5, Mitchells versus the Machines. Number 4, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Number 3, Pig. Number 2, we got Din. And number 1, Coda. All right.
What a list.
I feel good about this list. I really do. I really like it.
Yeah, it's a good roster.
Yeah, definitely. How about we just go around the circle to close it out by everyone saying their honorable mentions. You can just rapid fire the rest of them. Jesse, I'm going to start with you. Say all the honorable mentions. Go ahead.
Okay. The White Tiger, Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar.
Yes!
Yeah? You saw
Barb
it?
and Star.
Oh my God.
And-
It's fine. It's a good ride.
It's the best.
No Sudden Move.
What's
I
that?
haven't watched that one yet.
I loved it. I'm a huge Soderbergh fan. Like, I'm a fanboy, but man, that movie was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could call that movie Double Cross the movie. It'd be an accurate description of it. It gets kind of ridiculous as it keeps going on, but I still loved it.
All right. Is that all of them, Jesse?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Nivala. I feel like Alyssa's list is probably long. Let's go to Nivala.
Oh yeah, mine was pretty short and sweet. King Richard, Belfast, and Free Guy.
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh, I haven't watched Free Guy yet.
Yeah.
It was just a fun movie, you
It's
know?
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a nice, fun movie.
Another popcorny type of movie. Shut your brain off and go. Don't think about it too hard. It falls apart, but it's just fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Alyssa, tell me your list.
Okay, Tick Tick Boom. Loved. Come on. Sweetest movie. Loved that movie. I was also going to say Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, so love that.
Yeah.
And The Harder They Fall, a Western on Netflix. If you like Westerns, it's a super fun watch. I think it's like I think it's a 100% black cast. I don't think there's any white people in it. And it's a great, like, kind of like taking that Western trope and turning it on its head. Super fun.
Regina King's in that, right?
And she's amazing.
What's it called again?
Great music. The Harder They Fall.
And check that out. But I want to check out that other one you and Jesse seem to be going nuts about. What's it called?
Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
Yeah,
It almost
actually
feels like
really
a Lonely
fun.
Island movie.
Wait, how did this not make the list? You all three of you have seen this and you're just crazy about it.
It feels like Austin Powers.
Yes.
Goofy and weird and off the wall it is.
Do we have to reevaluate
it's strange
our
they still
list?
make movies like that.
Oh my god.
And Jamie Dornan, like, I did not know that guy was so funny.
Oh my god. All right, I gotta see this. My list, I'll just rapid fire the rest. Spider-Man No Way Home, obviously.
I'm actually mad that I watched that movie and then it wasn't someone's choice.
Did you like it though?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is the third one. So
I liked it.
Okay, yeah. I feel like you'd appreciate it more if you watched, the first two movies of all the other Spider-Man movies. It might have made more sense.
There were definitely some moments of confusion, but I felt for the most part I could keep up.
You're like, what's happening? Why are they explaining these characters from other movies? I'm mad. In the Heights, I think it's probably the best musical film of last year. If you don't count Coda, that's like a very musical film, like West Side Story 2, which I also really liked. The Green Knight is very good. Recommend if you like, artsy films. I'm pretty sure it's an A24 film. Raya and the Last Dragon, Nightmare Alley. I really like that. Alyssa, did you like that?
Can we just talk really quickly? Guys, this happens in the first 2 minutes, not a spoiler. That movie traumatized me. If anyone has a bird phobia, you need to skip the first 5 minutes. A man just eats a live chicken.
Yeah, it was weird.
I was like, what the hell?
I couldn't look.
Yeah.
I was screaming. I was like, I can't watch this. I almost had to turn the movie off.
Jesse, I feel like you'd like Nightmare Alley.
Nightmare Alley.
You probably like
Guillermo del Toro. Yes.
I like Del Toro.
I thought
Bradley
it was
Cooper was
excellent.
phenomenal.
I think it was a very good movie. Last Night in
I liked
Soho.
it way more than I thought I would, for sure.
Okay, yeah, and it ends so well too.
Yeah.
Last Night in Soho, I really, really liked. Tick Tick Boom, Tragedy of Macbeth. Also recommend that.
Oh,
Yeah, it's Macbeth, but Denzel. And it's shot really good. It's shot really good. And King Richard. I also really like that too. Okay, that's our list of movies. We freaking did it. The Academy is pleased. We have the highest ratings out of any, what is it, is it the 94th? How many Oscars has there been? Alyssa, you don't know this?
No idea.
I feel like 94 rings.
94.
true to me.
94.
Yeah.
So the 94th, you know what they say? 94th is the best. Okay.
Yeah, it is the 90. Yep, I Googled it. It's 94th.
All right. Well, how about we go around and do plugs? So we'll start with Nivala. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Academy.
Thanks for having me, guys. I would just like to plug The Lost City. Please go see that next week.
Girl, I wish we lived in the same city because I would make you come with me. I feel like me and
100%.
you together would be obsessed.
It would be great. It's like, I don't know. It just looks like Romancing the Stone, but even more fun.
I hope it's
And that's saying
romancing
a
the
lot.
stone for the sake of both of you. I hope it's like that.
There's going to be some broken hearts.
Yeah, you're gonna
if not.
email the director being like, why wasn't it more like romancing the stone? And they're like, because we made our own movie?
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention F1 Drive to Survive. Please watch it. It's actually a good show.
I've heard a lot of good things about that show.
Yeah, great. This Netflix
Listen, you
series.
just get on that F1 ride, okay? It is good.
I'm taking a
That's all
master
I have
class
to
right
plug.
now with Lewis Hamilton, so I know a little bit about F1, sort of.
Yeah.
They drive. That's all I know. Jesse, thank you so much for being on Rank today.
Thank you for having me. And since you're asking for a plug, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is the show that I'm watching right now called The White Lotus. Which,
So good.
Oh, that is
sure,
a
it's
good
from
show,
2021.
yeah.
I'm a little bit behind the
Yeah.
curve on that one, but it fits the theme. It's no movie, but I'm really enjoying it. If not just for the gorgeous Hawaiian scenery, it's actually a good show on top of that.
And you've all seen this too, White Lotus. I heard a little bit about it when it
Yeah.
first came out.
It's great.
Jennifer Coolidge, but I'm
Oh.
biased towards her
Yeah.
just in general.
She's a revelation.
I love her.
Revelation. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
But you know who else is a revelation? Alyssa Wooldridge, everyone.
Obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, how many times do you think I said everyone watch Red Rocket? Add one more to the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my plug. Also, follow me on Instagram, Alyssa Wool, ALYSSAWOL.
When are we getting...
Oh, and I'm on Letterboxd, same username, and all my reviews are if I cried at the movie or not. So if anyone's interested
okay.
in that.
You didn't even mention that once on this podcast, and I felt the restraint because in the last few episodes I've had you in the pod cavern, you brought up I think you have an Excel sheet or something of how many times you've
Yeah.
cried in the year.
I
at
keep
movies.
track.
You keep track, yeah. Did you cry at any of the movies in our top 5?
I did not cry at Dune. I did cry at Coda, and I did cry at Pig.
Okay. That's
Honestly,
good.
I might have cried at Dune if I watched it by myself. Stay tuned if I watch it again. I'll
What part would have made you cry in Dune? You're like, I feel bad
mean,
for the
Oscar Isaac.
sandworm. Oh, yeah, that's true. Oscar Isaac. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Ranked. You can find the rest of the shows in the Pod Cavern at www.podcavern.com. Check out all the shows there. And that's it for our movies episodes. Watch these movies. They're all really good, even the ones in the top 12 in our honorable mentions. It was a strong year for movies. Stronger than I thought.
It was a good one.
I agree completely.
Anybody looking forward to any particular movies this year?
Lost City.
Side of the Lost City.
Just Lost City. Okay,
I
we're
can't wait.
We're on Lost
Also,
City.
that Channing Tatum dog movie. Can't believe I haven't
Oh.
seen it yet.
Yes. Okay. I hope that
I'm
makes it our
excited
list
that
next year.
Channing Tatum's back.
Me too.
Just
Did you
in
guys hear there's going to be a
general,
Magic
yeah.
Mike 3?
Okay.
Oh, no.
That's my most anticipated movie of this year. Okay, let's get out of here. Let's go talk to Channing Tatum and his dog. Let him give us a private performance of Magic Mike 3. And we'll see you guys on another episode of Ranked. Bye, everyone.
Bye.